Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's Grand Theft Auto 5 video, we're doing another Q&A video where I take your questions from Twitter and hopefully Snapchat moving forward, and I answer them all in this video. Now, this might be the most robust Q&A video that I've ever done. We're going to be tackling the most questions that I've ever done, and all of them are going to be about the upcoming Finance and Felony DLC in Grand Theft Auto Online. I think this Q&A is going to be awesome. I think next week's Q&A is going to be awesome because it should come after Rockstar release more information and a trailer. So there's going to be a ton of questions that we're going to be tackling today. It should be pretty amazing. And as always, if you want to get involved in the next one, be sure to follow me on both Twitter, Snapchat. Those links will be in the description, and use the hashtag AskBoss whenever I'm looking for Q&A questions, which typically happens about once a week. So as I just stated, we've got a lot of questions to cover here, so let's not waste any more time and let's get it started. Our first question today comes from Matthew Clark, who tweeted me, "How many cars and weapons do you think will be in the new update? Hashtag AskBoss." Okay, so we know that Rockstar stated on their Newswire post that they were going to be adding more vehicles. In fact, I believe the exact quote was special new vehicles. So it's plural. So I would have to suspect that the amount would probably be similar to executives and other criminals. Meaning by that, we're probably going to be getting 2 to 3 to 4 new vehicles, and then 2 to 3 to 4, I'm guessing, armored variants of existing vehicles. That's my prediction for what they're going to add. In my opinion, that makes the most sense. 3 new vehicles that the franchise hasn't seen before, and because this is kind of a stepping stone from executives and other criminals, I think they're going to add more armored vehicles that we can use for our organization and for our drug runs. Maybe they'll be drug trafficking vehicles. I'm not sure. That's a category I haven't really even dove into or thought about yet, but maybe Rockstar will add special, maybe delivery style vehicles for making these drug trafficking, narcotics, electronics runs, whatever they're going to be, raids, whatever they are. I think Rockstar could add specific vehicles for that. We know one of them obviously is going to be the Pegassi Reaper, but outside of that supercar, we have no idea what Rockstar is planning in terms of cars and vehicles. As far as weapons go, we didn't see any of them in the new screenshot. You guys know I broke down the 3 screenshots just a few hours ago, depending on when you're watching this, and there wasn't any signs of new weapons, especially the ones where those characters were walking towards the broken down plane. Those are already existing weapons in the game. So if there are going to be some new weapons added, Rockstar are going to have to show them off this week, and they're going to have to tease them in whether they provide new information or just the trailer. Our next question comes from Galileo Gaming, who tweeted me, "Do you think there will be a completely different VIP system, or will there be new features added to the current one? Hashtag AskBoss." Galileo, that's a really good question, because right now in-game, I currently think there's a 4-hour VIP timer, and then you have to like cool down for 12 hours or something like that. It's kind of a weird system. And in my opinion, I don't think it makes sense to become CEO of a corporation only for 4 hours. So here's what I'm thinking, and this is how I think it might work. You can become a VIP, and then once you become a VIP and set your bodyguards, I then think there's going to be an add-on or an additional feature to make yourself CEO. And once that happens, your status will become permanent, and you'll be able to become the CEO and do CEO and business activities for as long as you want. That also raises the question, how is the executives and other bodyguard system going to work? Are you going to have the same 3 people throughout your entire process? That I'm really not too sure. In all the screenshots that Rockstar have showed off so far, it's been the CEO and then 3 other people. So that's how I'm assuming it's going to work. I'm guessing Rockstar are going to keep really the same kind of format that we've been seeing in the screenshots, where it looks like it's going to be 1 CEO and then 3 bodyguards. And as far as other features, I'm really not too sure. We are going to have to wait for more information to find out. I talked about in a video the other day that the 8 kind of features the CEO can do in terms of ordering around its organization. So that would be like the buy, the sell, the air, the DEF, which I think is defend. So stuff like that I think is going to be added into the game. But as far as other features for the CEO, I'm not sure. And as far as how Rockstar is going to rework and tweak the current VIP system, I don't know either. But I would highly suspect that they're going to be getting rid of that VIP timer, or at least allowing you to upgrade further and past VIP into CEO. Our next question comes from Curtis Witt, who tweeted me, do you think the Finance and Felony DLC could have tunables for a 4th of July update? Hashtag AskBoss. Yes, absolutely I do, especially because the release date of this DLC is June 7th, which means by its release, it will be less than a month away from America's Independence Day. I think Canada's Independence Day is a few days before that. So I think that, yeah, Rockstar will end up packaging a sort of smaller styled Independence Day update with this DLC. Now, obviously, we won't know until the DLC comes out and until we are able to look and dig into the files, or they might surprise us and tease that at the end of the trailer. Honestly, at this point, who knows what Rockstar is going to do, but we do know that they have been doing a theme of packaging in tunable DLCs with formal updates in Grand Theft Auto Online. So yeah, I absolutely suspect that they'll do something like that, and I would kind of be shocked if they didn't. If they didn't, it might make me think that the Cunning Stunts update is going to be arriving sooner in Grand Theft Auto Online rather than later, but I guess we're just gonna have to find out. Up next, we have a question from GTA Superior, who tweets me, what do you expect to see in the upcoming trailer for further adventures in Finance and Felony? Hashtag AskBoss. So that's a good question, and the last trailer that Rockstar's done for a DLC was Executives and Other Criminals. And what they did was they briefly just teased everything that was going to be coming. Rockstar in their trailers don't tend to give away a lot of information. They really make you do a lot of digging for yourself. So what I expect to see are some other vehicles. I don't think they're going to announce the names. We're kind of going to have to figure that out for ourselves. I'm sure they'll dive into the warehouses and the headquarters a little bit more because they've only briefly touched on that in photos and screenshots. They really haven't told us how that system's going to work. I'm assuming we might see some articles of clothing, new ones being worn by our characters, maybe a weapon or two that's shown off that obviously is new and going to be added. And then hopefully we see whether it's some new actions or some new features that our characters are ultimately doing. Maybe they'll touch on the payouts as well. I'm really not too sure. But I don't expect it to be too long, and I don't expect it to give away a ton of information. I think we're going to have to do a lot of digging on our own to find out some of the secrets of this update. Our next question comes from Matthew the Flying Hobo, who tweets to me, how much money do you think this DLC will cost in total? Hashtag AskBoss. Okay, so I'm not going to go over everything in detail. In fact, I'll leave a link to a video in the description. It's a video I did the other day. It is my preliminary how much is this DLC going to cost video from what we know so far. I also plan on making an update video to that once more information in the trailer has come out. But for now, I believe it's going to cost at least $10 million. I've talked to some of my friends who've stated you're going to need anywhere from $20 to $30 million to get everything in this update. And the only thing we really know so far is I think that the Reaper at a minimum is going to cost $2.5 million to $3 million if Rockstar do end up setting it as the fastest supercar. So that's really all I'm going to touch on. If you want to check out that full video for yourself where I go in detail on pretty much everything, I'll leave that link in the description. It's a pretty good one in my opinion, so definitely check it out. Our next question comes from Moose Plays, who tweeted me, do you think the missions for Finance and Felony would be like the heist setup, i.e. steal drugs for setup, final is the deal? You know, that's a really great question, Moose, and I think that Rockstar will end up ultimately doing that, and I think we've already seen signs of them taking from the heist update. The first of which is the fact that there's only 4 players, the CEO, which I'm guessing in my opinion is very similar to the heist leader, the guy who sets up the heist, and he's probably going to do very similar things to the heist leader. He's going to control the payouts. He's going to control how we ultimately end up doing it. And then you've got your team, which is 3 people. And again, in all the screenshots, we've only seen 3 people. Now, as far as like go stealing drugs for a setup and doing the finale, I'm not sure if it's going to be like part by part by part, kind of like how Heist was. But I do think there are going to be some similarities there where you'll ask your people in your organization to go out and do stuff, and then ultimately you might sweep in for the end and collect the reward. Again, I'm really not too sure. There will be a ton of more details released this week that will give us a much better idea of what's going to be going on. But yeah, I do ultimately think that the heist update is going to influence kind of the setup of this one, further adventures in Finance and Felony. Our next question comes from BRJDMASF, who tweets at me, do you think the apartment and HQ office customization will be included in this update, and will we see mansions? Hashtag AskBoss. So let me talk about customization first. I briefly mentioned this in the video I did a few hours ago, and I sure hope that office customization or HQ customization does arrive in this update, because wouldn't it be kind of lame if everyone's headquarters and high-rise offices looked the exact same? In my opinion, that would be kind of bogus. But what I do think is going to happen if there is no office customization is that each high-rise office, because I imagine they're going to be in different locations, will have slightly different interior. Just like different apartments will have different views or different interiors, I think that is going to be the case. I will be kind of disappointed if all the offices are exactly the same, just with different views. So hopefully on that front, there is some sort of differences, and at a minimum, maybe some customization that we can do as well, just to give ourselves a little bit of differentiation and separation from the other players in the game. That would be nice. And as far as mansions go, man, I hope so. But I think Rockstar just thinks that stilt homes are equivalent mansions in the game, when really the ones we really want are on the level of like the Playboy Mansion and the Rockford Hills ones. So as much as I want to hope that mansions are coming, that would be great, and I'm sure we'll find out in the trailer more information. I just don't think it's the theme of finance and felony. I think it's more associated with the business, drug dealing, and making money. That's a great segue to our next question, which comes from Ronnie Watts, who tweets me, do you think that the drug dealing will be a serious way to make money, as in the profit? Hashtag Ask Boss. That's a great question, and I think a lot of people are going to be going into this thinking that they're just going to make a a ton of money. They're just going to walk out with like pockets full of cash, and to a degree, I think this is going to be a great way to make money in Grand Theft Auto Online. But at the same rate, it's Rockstar, and they always like to add things into the game with a system of checks and balances. For the heist, you had to split it with your teammates. For some of the other things in the game, there would be timers on how often you could do them. For example, the VIP works. So do I think you're going to just be able to walk into this organization and just make money and leave and walk out? To an extent, I think you're going to make some good amounts of cash, but there's either going to be limits or there's going to be an upfront cost, very similar to the heist update, that will prevent you from just, like I said, basically making an unlimited amount of money. So yes, do I think there's going to be great profit? Absolutely. But I don't think it's going to come without work, and I definitely don't think it's going to come without some sort of upfront fees. Our next question comes from David, who tweeted me, do you think that Rockstar will allow us to own 6 apartments or properties when the DLC comes out? Hashtag Ask Boss. So I've been getting this question a lot, and yeah, I do think that Rockstar will allow us to add a 6th property in the game, especially if they add like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 new vehicles. Then I certainly almost think they will. But that will ultimately come down to whether or not our headquarters will have shared garages for the players in our organization. Someone else asked me this, Samuel on Twitter. He asked me the same question. Do you think the headquarters will have shared garages for players in the organization? And if that is the case, then we might not get a personal 6th garage. Instead, Rockstar might count the organization as a garage. Wouldn't that be crazy? Because a lot of the businesses and places that I've predicted for the headquarters, they have garages. And wouldn't it be cool that instead of 10-car garage, you got a 20-car garage or 25 or 30? Because it's being shared with 4 or 3 or 4 other players, that would be pretty amazing if I do say so myself. So hopefully that is the case, whether we get a personal 6th or one that's shared with our organization. And finally, our last question comes from Eogan Walsh, who tweets at me, do you think the finance and felony will be as big as a DLC as heist in terms of content? Well, Rockstar did state on the newswire that this is going to be one of the biggest DLCs to come into Grand Theft Auto Online. So they didn't state that it was going to be the biggest and deepest, but one of. And because there's only so many DLCs that are on that caliber, I would only really include 2 other, Heist and Executives and Other Criminals. Yeah, I think this is going to be an amazing DLC in terms of content added in the game. We really just are going to have to find out, but I think this is going to be so feature-rich, so game-changing, and I really do think it's going to be an awesome experience when it does actually arrive on June 7th. But anyways, that's all the questions that I'm going to be tackling in this week's Q&A. This has been the longest Q&A ever. Let me know if you guys like this style of Q&A where we kind of, take it a little bit longer, go into some more questions, but it certainly does help when we have some great content to talk about, like a new DLC coming out. So as always, if you did go on to enjoy the video, a like rating would of course be awesome. If you want to get involved in the next one, as always, be sure to follow me on Twitter and Snapchat. Both those links are in the description. And as always, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new or you like daily GTA 5 videos like this. With out the way, guys, like I said, thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.